Hey everybody, and today I am going to be talking about the novel Ready Player One. Ready Player One was published in August of 2011 and is written by Ernest Cline. Now, in terms of how to classify this particular book, that's where this novel is a little bit interesting. First of all, the main character is roughly about 17, 18 years of age. So it kind of falls into that young adult realm, particularly when the main bulk of the story is this character playing a massive multiplayer online RPG. So you could call it almost a young adult novel. On the other hand, the vast majority of the quests that this particular character goes on all involve movies, music, and video games from the late 70s and into the 80s. So having a lot of familiarity with that era certainly is a huge benefit to reading this book. So in that case, for all those gamers such as myself who grew up in the 80s listening to the music, watching the movies and everything else, there is a hell of a lot of nostalgia in this book. So it's kind of aimed at us too, right? So this is one of those books that kind of bridges a couple of different genres, and really you just have to be willing to accept both sides of the coin to enjoy it. So, what is the story of Ready Player One? Ready Player One takes place in a dystopian future where vast amounts of the world have collapsed in terms of their economies, their reliance on energy, and so forth. A vast majority of people live in squalor. It's your typical world's gone to hell kind of scenario. In order to survive in this hellish world, a massive multiplayer online game has effectively become the place where most people live their lives, and this is called the Oasis. And now the Oasis started off as a game where there were multiple worlds where you could do everything. Like one world was a sci-fi world, one world was based on old video games like from Zork and stuff like that, and so forth. And then as the popularity of the Oasis grew, the Oasis allowed things like people go to school in the Oasis, so that students who live in an impoverished area, as long as they can jack into the net, can go to a high school and get a really decent high school education. And of course, there's also a ton of commerce. Like, effectively, take our internet that we have now, where we shop and we find information, put that into a massive multiplayer online RPG, and instead of you just staring at a screen to shop and everything else, you actually put on a helmet that projects the world onto your retinas directly, and it's like you're basically walking through that world. And they have gloves, of course, that are synaptic gloves, so they actually give feedback, so it's almost like you're touching things within the world, and you can use them to navigate and so forth. So the Oasis has effectively replaced the real world as the place where most people live their lives. So people actually have jobs that are exclusively within the Oasis. Now, within the Oasis, it was created by this brilliant programmer who was a major fan, of course, of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because that's what he grew up through. When he finds out that he has a terminal disease and that he's dying, he decides to create a game within the game. Now, he has no heirs, he has no, never been married, so forth. So what he does is he creates the game where he says, within the Oasis, there are clues and quests. And the person who solves all of those quests gets my money. Gets my money, gets my ownership of the company that owns the Oasis, the whole kit and caboodle. And so this has created this whole massive subculture of individuals who are absorbing all of the movies, music, games, and everything else from the late 70s and 80s in order to equip themselves to find this prize. And of course, our boy Wade Watts, who is our main character, is one of those people that is searching for the prize. And in the midst of all this, of course, we have a greedy corporation that is also trying to find the prize because they want to seize control of the Oasis for themselves. And so it's a race between all of these various individuals plus this evil corporation to try and get to the final prize and to win the money and to win ownership of the Oasis. Ready Player One is told in the first person from Wade's point of view. I have to say that if you really look at this book, it has some decent character development, but I wouldn't say that's the strongest point of this book. The real entertainment in this book is in the quests and the challenges themselves. And this is where I say that this book is most definitely written for someone such as myself who lived through the 80s, who played all those video games, who listened to the music, watched the movies, because when he's mentioning a particular video game, a particular movie and stuff, I know it. And when he's talking about how he has to act out certain scenes or how there's certain elements that he has to know about, I remember. I remember those things. And so, having lived through that era, this is where I say that I think this book is really aimed at us older geeks that, still play video games and still love to watch animated movies and sci-fi movies and, listen to, whatever music. Because having that knowledge and having that affection for that time period is a huge, huge benefit to this novel. The novel really feeds off of the nostalgia factor. But at the same time, it's a hell of a fun book. I mean, it sort of combines that questing element that you have in basically every RPG out there. And because it's set in this universe where you can travel to different worlds and each world is a different theme, it's really a big free-for-all. Like, I don't want to give too many things away, but I mean, the Titanic battle near the end, when you get there, you'll just be like, really? I'm reading this? I'm reading that they're doing this? And for someone like me, I get giddy over it because I'm like, I totally remember this kind of stuff. But I don't know if it'll work the same for somebody who's only 15, 16 that didn't grow up through that era. But you never know. So, once again, Ready Player One. I really enjoyed it. I thought the imagery in it was really well done. I thought that there was a lot of great world building in this novel. And it made it feel like it was possible. It was possible that this could come. And really, it's not. I don't think it really is that far removed from where we are right now. People are talking about synaptic feedbacks from your phone, so that you can actually feel things when you touch it. So this technology's out there, and people are trying to play with it. And I don't think that we're that far off. I mean, Google's got their glasses coming out that you can have a screen right there and search for things as you walk around, and so we're not that far off. So Ready Player One in some ways is kind of a forward-looking novel, drawing on technology that A, already exists, and B, is not that far off, to create a very cohesive and realistic world. So guys, I really recommend Ready Player One. It's a heck of a lot of fun, particularly, as I said, if you are sort of a bit older and you remember games like Joust and Zork, and you remember movies like War Games and Back to the Future and all that kind of stuff. If you've got that affection for the 80s and those memories of those things in your childhood, you'll find a heck of a lot in Ready Player One to enjoy. And for people that are young adults, I mean, the character's basically playing an MMORPG, which I'm sure most of you are probably have played or know of and so forth. So, I mean, there's still a lot to speak to that level as well, even if you disregard the whole nostalgia factor of it. So, once again, guys, I really enjoyed Ready Player One. Awesome novel. Check it out. My next review is going to be on Justin Cronin's follow-up to The Passage, which is called The 12. And I'm hoping to have that one up next week. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the review, and I hope you enjoy reading Ready Player One. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.